Live with studios in Midland and Odessa, you're watching CBS7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW West Texas.
Thank you for joining us for CBS7 News on the CW. And thanks for joining us live on the CBS7 YouTube. I'm Mary Kate Hamilton, and we start tonight tracking crime. This morning around 4 a.m., Odessa police responded to Dorado Pharmacy on Faudree in regards to a burglary. The investigation revealed a male suspect stole an unknown amount of narcotics and an undisclosed amount of cash. If you recognize the man or the car you're seeing, please contact Detective Lofton or the Odessa Crime Stoppers. Yesterday, Midland County Sheriff's deputies arrested Amanda Wilson and Nathaniel Spellings on charges of abandoning or endangering a child. Around 7 p.m., they were called to the 2100 block of South County Road 1140 for a 5-year-old autistic child that had been found. Deputies were later able to reach the child's parents, and when they got to their home, they found unsanitary living conditions when inspecting the house. The two parents were arrested and booked into the Midland County Detention Center. The case is ongoing and CPS is involved. We have an update for you now on Odessa containers fire we told you about earlier this week. According to Representative Brooks Landgraf, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality is sending people to inspect the area that burned. In a post made on Facebook, Representative Landgraf said he received a call telling him the site of the fire was smoldering and causing symptoms for people. He and Ector County Commissioner Mike Gardner are now working to help residents in the area. In his post, Landgraf said in part, quote, "Based on feedback I've received from constituents and Commissioner Gardner, I think we need to keep a close eye on air and water in the immediate vicinity of the site," end quote. We will, of course, continue to update you as we learn more. The 5th strongest earthquake on record in the state of Texas shook parts of West Texas this morning. Matt Ernst with our sister station KCBD is in Lubbock. He's got a look at the impact.
This was felt across much of the region, much of the state. A 5.1 magnitude earthquake. This is the 5th strongest on record in Texas. This is along US 180, I-20 down to the south, Abilene to the south. Snyder, Texas is right there. And something like this, remarkable. Now, the county judge in Scurry County is requesting assistance from the state. He's declared locally a disaster declaration. Now, this is not the only earthquake. He says the county has experienced dozens of quakes over the past week, with several this afternoon alone. No reports of any injuries. There are reports of damage, things like cracks in walls, bricks separating from buildings, and water leaks. We spoke with residents earlier today, and they say while it only lasted a few seconds, it was a scary situation.
I was in my office and the building started to shake, and I definitely felt this one a little bit more than I did the one the other day.
I just felt the trembling, and I tried to get underneath the door frame. Ask the Lord to help me, because you don't know how bad it's going to get.
Now, those folks in Snyder, you can see how scary it was. It's a bit unnerving. We're looking at the epicenter of the 5.1 today. This follows a 4.9 that was centered in the same area Monday night. Many people here in Lubbock also reported feeling that quake both Monday night as well as today. But check this out. This is 3.0 or stronger over the past 10 days. There have been several, and now we drop it back to all earthquakes. More than 80 here. It's been quite a remarkable week, and certainly the worst of those quakes today. In Lubbock, Matt Ernst, CBS 7 First Alert News.
Our sister station in Lubbock also confirmed that the Railroad Commission is investigating the increase in earthquakes. They report that several operators in the area have converted their deep saltwater disposal wells into shallow wells over the past year. The injections get rid of produced water. Inspectors are now checking those wells, and the commission is going to evaluate next steps to prevent these kinds of earthquakes. We're going to talk your weather forecast here in the Basin. A lovely Friday evening here, but still pretty warm. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Tom Tieferteller. Tom?
Yes, just dealing with lots of heat and wrapping up another warm day across West Texas. Let's take a look at the satellite and radar view. Not a lot got going in the way of showers, thunder showers. Everything's really back in New Mexico at the present time and across portions of the Edwards Plateau as we saw pretty quiet conditions. It was hot out there with temperatures into the low to mid 90s, but up to 99 in Pecos and Presidio. We were in triple digits around Terlingua. And down towards Rio Grande Village, too, in the lower elevations of Big Bend National Park. At sunset here, we're seeing 89 in Midland, 88 in Odessa, so pretty quiet conditions out there this evening. And humidity levels are jumping back up a little bit, but right at 30% is not too bad, really, for the Permian Basin. So here's what we're looking at for your weekend. Again, things will be rather hot as we're going to step up by 2 degrees every day through the weekend into the early part of next week. It doesn't look like too much in the way of rain in our forecast anytime soon.
Thank you very much, Tom. Now to Midland for an update on one of their 2 remaining street bond projects on Garfield. On Monday, the city will open Garfield Street between Golf Course Road and Community Lane. I know that is good news for a lot of you Midlanders. Approximately 80% of the utilities have been installed and 1/3 of the road has been paved. Midland plans to accelerate that paving, and it was estimated that utilities will be completely installed by the end of September. The city says they have been constantly working on getting the roadway back open to the public, segment by segment.
Garfield Street is one of our 2 remaining bond project streets. And we're working now to begin opening segments of the roadway back to the public. And basically just give the roadway back in pieces to the public and the residents that live there.
There is no start date for the roundabout yet, but they are planning to install and work on a schedule, and they said they'll have updates at a later time. MPD recently issued 259 traffic violations on Wadley Avenue alone in a single weekend. They've decreased speed limits on multiple streets as well. With Midland's recent population growth in the last 5 years, MPD wants to make sure all residents, old and new, are safe. Portions of Briarwood Ave, Midkiff Road, and Rankin Highway will drop by 5 miles per hour. On these main streets, they say some offenders are pushing the time of yellow lights and then running reds. It's all part of an overall goal to minimize car accidents in areas where they're already high.
We've always had the issues with all the same main streets, Wadley, Midland, Garfield, Midkiff, Andrews Highway. Those have always been something that we've always had to combat.
MPD is urging people to slow down, follow speed limits, and obey traffic lights, because if you don't, they say it's only a matter of time until you get a citation. They hope to have a handle on these situations before the start of school in a little over 2 weeks. After a 24-week-long training academy, 6 Midland police recruits are now ready to take the next steps towards becoming officers. The recruits' hard work and dedication was celebrated at a graduation ceremony this afternoon at the Bush Center, where a lot of people were there to celebrate.
Oh, I think it's very exciting, especially all the hours that we put into the training division. I think it's great to see young officers come into this program. I've been with the police department for 20 years, so it's exciting to see these young gentlemen, especially in this academy, come through and start the program. And it's the future of our police department and, you know, the future for the city also, as well as when it comes to law enforcement.
The recruits will now spend the next 18 weeks on the streets working as probationary patrol officers. That's where they'll gain the skills and knowledge necessary to be successful in their roles. The state of New Mexico and federal agencies continue to offer free debris removal services for private property owners affected by the fires and the floods near Ruidoso. The EPA is currently in phase 1 of this program, which includes hazardous waste removal once residents can prove that they own the property. After that, in phase 2, the State Department of Homeland Security comes in and takes the rest of the debris. EPA says they are in charge of collecting the hazardous waste, and that is for safety reasons.
Just easier for us to be able to go in and collect all this information or all this waste up front, and a lot safer since we have trained contractors who go in to these properties and make sure that what we're doing is safe and that the material that we're collecting isn't going to hurt anybody. You know.
Residents can sign up in person with the New Mexico Disaster Case Manager at the Disaster Recovery and Resource Center, or they can fill out a right of entry form online. Senate lawmakers took a big step Thursday to regulate the tech industry. They voted to pass a procedural vote on the Kids Online Safety Act. Our Washington News Bureau correspondent Stetson Miller explains how the bill would keep kids safe online.
In a rare moment of bipartisanship, both Republicans and Democrats are supporting this bill that would require social media companies to show they are taking reasonable measures to protect kids from harms online. Members of the Senate stepped up Thursday to try to protect children as concerns linger about how they're being affected by social media and the internet.
It is really just about empowering young people and parents to take back control over their lives online.
Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal and Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn's Kids Online Safety Act advanced in the Senate Thursday in a procedural vote. The bill would require social media companies to prevent and mitigate harms to children like bullying, violence, sexual exploitation, drug abuse, and other dangers.
Today we take a step in that direction by giving you the tools and safeguards so you and your children can make choices, giving big tech a duty of care.
It comes after several families have appealed to Congress for years with little luck.
We lost our 12-year-old son, Matthew, to an online viral challenge on TikTok and YouTube. It was then that we decided that we would not rest until America's youth was safe from online harms on social media.
But not everyone is happy with it. Groups like the ACLU were worried about the bill and its potential impact on First Amendment freedoms, calling it an online censorship bill. In a press release, they said the Kids Online Safety Act would violate the First Amendment by encouraging platforms to censor protected speech in order to ensure compliance with the bill's provisions and incentivize the removal of anonymous browsing on wide swaths of the internet. The bill still has to undergo a final vote in the Senate and then would move on to the House. In Washington, I'm Stetson Miller.
Just hours after Vice President Kamala Harris announced the beginning of her campaign, she became an internet sensation. Our Washington News Bureau correspondent Stetson Miller explains how that happened.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Coconut trees, the color lime green, and a British pop star have fueled a huge boost for Vice President Kamala Harris's brand new presidential campaign. The social media firestorm around her started hours after her campaign launched, and much of it was fueled by singer Charlie XCX, who tweeted out, "Kamala is Brat," a reference to the name of her most recent album with a lime green cover.
This idea of you can be both the silliest version of yourself and the most serious version of yourself all in one is kind of what I think it means to be Brat. And I think that's what Kamala Harris is.
Emma Mott is the vice president of Organizer Memes, a collective of former political organizers turned professional memers who help out Democratic campaigns and nonprofits with social media. She thinks Harris took off on social media because so many young people were relieved, felt like they could relate to her.
It's a collective sigh of relief that we finally, we have a candidate that gets everyone excited, not just a specific part of the Democratic Party, but we love young people. We want someone who can be silly. We want someone who can be kind of real with us.
And the significance of coconut trees and Harris memes, that's a reference to a story she told back in May 2023.
My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, "I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?"
Kamala Harris, telling the story of the way her mom used to say, "Do you think you just fell out of a coconut tree?" Something about that is so authentically goofy that it really speaks to the kind of vibe that Gen Z has.
Concerns about the Harris memes becoming uncool or being overplayed are brewing now, but Emma believes as long as she keeps doing what she's been doing and doesn't directly address them, they could help propel Harris all the way to the White House. In Washington, I'm Stetson Miller.
Still ahead, the Olympic Games are underway. How they celebrated at the French Embassy here at home. Up next. The Paris 2024 Olympics are underway, and for the first time, the Parade of Nations came down by boat, while all of France is gearing up for the start of the Games. Here in the U.S., the French Embassy in D.C. is getting in on the fun. Our Molly Martinez was there.
Bienvenue à l'ambassade française. We're here for the kickoff of the 2024 Paris Olympics. The embassy grounds turned into a mini stadium Friday, hosting hundreds of revelers ready for the action.
It's about sharing culture, it's about inclusivity, and so we wanted to have something that will also make that special bond with the U.S.
For French citizen Valérie Lacorte, it's a matter of national pride.
As you can see, I'm wearing my France t-shirt. All the sightseeing we are looking at in Paris make me really proud.
And of course, it wouldn't be the Olympics without a favorite spectator sport.
I'd probably say rowing, which is just... Why? It's just fast-paced, just going down the river.
This year's rowing competition will be in the heart of the City of Love, along the Seine River. For Valerie, it's not about who wins, it's about global camaraderie.
Next Olympics Games will be here in the U.S., so it's great to have this bridge between France and the U.S.
The U.S. is participating in 31 team sports this year, with the largest delegation, comprising 529 athletes. And for the first time ever, the Olympics will have gender parity, with 5,250 women and 5,250 men competing. And according to the organizers, a bit of the Eiffel Tower will be embedded into all the winning medals. At the French Embassy, I'm Molly Martinez.
It looks like a hot streak on the way for West Texas. In fact, a heat wave is starting to develop. We'll talk about that the rest of the weekend coming up next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Enjoying a nice evening out there. Temperatures are still on the warm side as we take a look at them, seeing those into the mid to upper 80s out there, but hanging on to 90s across the western Permian Basin and areas where we saw triple digits. It's still 94 down there towards Terlingua and Rio Grande Village. Here's what's causing everything. This big ridge of high pressure in the upper levels of the atmosphere centered up across the western U.S. Well, it's on the move and it'll be drifting off to the east and start to move into West Texas early part of next week. So that's going to provide us with a hot and mainly dry weekend in our forecast as we're cut off from all this tropical moisture that continues to stream across the eastern part of the state and southeast part of the state. Deep South Texas had some heavier rains here over the past 24 hours. Looks like more in the forecast for the weekend. So if your travels take you to Houston, Corpus Christi, the lower Rio Grande Valley, again, rain is in the forecast. Already seen some light rain in a few spots out there. Looks like it's moving back in around the Corpus Christi area and continues on down towards Brownsville at the present time. West Texas got as close as the Sacramento Mountains and parts of the Edwards Plateau. That's really been about it as temperatures out there across the estate. This evening, again, cooler where we're seeing the clouds and the rain. Houston, 77 degrees. Now, taking a look at the future cast, showing you that we are going to see a couple of clouds here and there overnight tonight in towards the morning hours. But by tomorrow afternoon, it does look like an isolated shower, thunder shower possible across parts of the northern, northeastern Permian Basin, but they look to be very isolated. And then coming up on Sunday, we're going to be looking at some isolated showers, thunder showers back into the mountain areas by the afternoon hours. But again, very isolated stuff is what we are expecting. So here's what we're looking at for the rest of tonight. Seeing those temperatures again, lower 70s, a couple of clouds here and there streaming in from the north. And then tomorrow, rather hot, temperatures into the mid to even upper 90s in a few spots, and up to 101 in Presidio. So it's going to be hottest again along the Rio Grande. And your CBS7 First Alert exclusive 10-day forecast shows temperatures steadily climbing here over the next few days. In fact, we'll be close to triple digits, if not above it, by the latter part of next week. And again, keeping a dry forecast around here over the next 7 to 10 days.
The U.S. economy grew by 2.8% since April. That's according to new data from the Department of Commerce. The nearly 3% increase was more than economists expected after last quarter's increase was just under 2%. That means consumers are spending more now, showing more trust in the economy, and inflation may be on its way down. A rising GDP might sound like something that doesn't affect you, but that national level number breaks down into more jobs, higher income, and more investment. All that means more money in your wallet. All right, Tom, before we go, check this out. Maritime historians in Wisconsin have found an 1893 shipwreck in Lake Michigan. The Margaret A. Muir was discovered just around 50 feet underwater on May 12th. According to the Wisconsin Underwater Archaeology Association, the ship sank only a few miles off the entrance to Algoma Harbor. Maritime historians said it's a significant archaeological discovery. The Muir is a 130-foot, three-masted ship that was built in 1872. It was intended primarily for the Great Lakes grain trade, but it had a lot of diverse cargoes over 21 years before sinking. Maritime historians say the ship was lost to a fierce gale back in 1893, and now they've found it again. I feel like people forget just how big Lake Michigan is.
Yes.
This is pretty cool.
Very interesting stuff there.
Yeah, it's a great find. All right, thank you everyone for watching CBS 7 First Alert News at 9. We've got more news coming up tonight on CBS 7 News at 10.
That's right. Well, a good Saturday morning to everyone. We are going to be looking at pretty hot conditions coming up this weekend with temperatures steadily climbing into the mid to upper 90s by the early part of next week. And one thing that's not going to be in this forecast anytime soon is any rain showers or thunder showers, as things look very dry next 7-10 days. There's two of them. I don't know why one could suffice, trust me, okay? Well, a good Saturday morning to everyone. Expecting a hot weekend? We've got one for you as we are looking at temperatures again steadily climbing into the mid-90s by Sunday. So it's going to be a great weekend to be out by the pool. And next week, things look to be even hotter across the area with no rain in sight over the next few days.